Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handi Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And QuiltCut, easy fabric cutting for quilters. Hi, and welcome to Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community. I'm Mary Kate Carpetris, and with me today is Harriett Carpanini, who is a national educator for Handi Quilter. Welcome.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Today, Harriet's going to show us some tips for doing applique with a long arm machine, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Good.
It looks like you have some great pieces
to
show us some of the work you've already done. These are beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done here?
Sure. As an educator, I like to bring new things to my students, so I like to show different things they can do with their long arm. And I have to tell you the truth, I miss my sewing machine sometimes, but I love to see the different things that I can do on my Handi Quilter. Right here I have some applique shapes cut out. I don't have any fusible webbing on the back of them, so there's no ironing, there's no drawing first, there's just cutting out those shapes. And I mimic my sewing machine with the blanket stitch, because years ago, before my machine, I used to do a lot of applique on sweatshirts and towels, and I watched that machine do those stitches back and forth and in and out, and boy, I can do it with my eyes closed. So when I got my long arm, I tried to figure out different things that I could do and use it instead of the sewing machine, and this is one of the things that I came up with to do raw edge applique. So I have my blanket stitch here. And then over here, if you can see, I've got a little loopy, squiggly stitch that I went around, kind of fun stitch to just hold those flowers down. And then instead of putting on borders and making it an actual quilt, I use some yarn in my borders here, and over here you can see there's a thicker chenille yarn. And I just use that as my border instead of sewing on and quilting those borders as well.
That's great. Is that? Oh, it's underneath the tool.
It's
okay,
underneath, yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So you really just get right to the fun part.
Yes.
There's very little prep. You just get right to the sewing,
right to the
design.
stitching.
Right.
Yes.
And what do you use these for?
Like I said, when I teach, I like to bring different ideas to my students. But I also get a lot of calls from schools for, do you have any donations for our auction? And this is just a really quick, easy project that I can just throw it on the long arm, get it done, and there's no hand sewing to it, and get it right out the door into the auction.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Great. Well, let's take a look then at how you you do this technique.
Okay. So I start with a scrap of paper, a scrap of fabric, and I have my shapes already cut out, and there's no, like I said, there's no fusible on the back, and I just lay them where I like them. Put that one there and that one there. And I put my little stems down.
And you've got a variety of fabrics. Looks like quilters cotton and then batiks, and you've got the
anything, mix and match, anything goes. I had a neighbor go out of the home deck business, and she gave me all her drapery sample books. So a lot of these are from those books. I just cut the shapes out of those.
So anything goes.
Anything goes.
And what sorts of embellishments do you use? So you've got this fringy yarn that's a very technical term.
Fun yarns that I wanted to learn how to knit in the worst way, and I just can't wrap my hands around that one. So I bought a lot of pretty yarns, and I have a lot of them sitting in the drawer. So I just kind of put it on there and you know, cover up.
It sounds like you can use pretty much anything you want for this. Is there anything you'd recommend not using?
I wouldn't put buttons on here.
Okay.
Anything with dimension on there, because you are going around with the
anything
machine
that could break a needle.
Right. So yarn, fabric scraps, shards of thread. You know, a lot of people save the cuttings from their thread and they just sprinkle it on there. So, and then, so the next thing that I'm going to do is cover it with a piece of netting or tulle. And I found a color that would just blend in, and I just lay this right on top. And once I have everything, it disappears. You don't even know it's on there. And once I have everything where I want it, I just throw some pins into my piece, and I just put it on my backing and batting that are already loaded on my machine. And magically, we have one
Trade
right here.
Let you position that.
So I have my pins in here, and I lay this down on my machine. And now I'm all ready to stitch.
Fantastic.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Handi Quilter, and I have my micro handles installed on here.
Now what are micro handles?
Oh, this is a fun gadget, a fun add-on for the machine. When you are doing regular stitching, you're standing up at your machine and you're using these handlebars. And you have a lot of control because you're going over a large area. When you're micro quilting, which is the small quilting, you don't have control here.
Okay.
You want to be closer to the needle so you can work in a smaller space and do minute stitching.
Okay.
So the micro handles is an add-on to the machine, and they go on the front here, and there's the same controls here that you have over here. And so you're stopping and starting with your buttons. You're not having to move your hand to the top of the machine while your machine is still stitching.
Okay.
So what I like to do is I like to set my handles on, and I'm going to take my stool. I like to sit down on a stool. And I'm going to bring up my thread here. Now when I do this, I like to play with all kinds of different thread. I think I have as much thread as I have fabric.
This is a great place to use all of those different
yes,
colors and varieties.
Yes, it is. But for today's purposes, for demo purposes, I'm just using a cone of thread. But normally, I like to take my decorative threads and use my spools, but I have to use my spool pin, my horizontal spool pin.
Okay.
And when I use that, it's this is a very delicate thread, so I want to loosen up my tension. And it comes straight down off of the spool where the cone will come off from the top. So I don't want to put a twist in this. So I want to make sure that I have the right
Because the thread is actually flat.
Right.
It's not a round thread. It's
Right.
flat, and so it helps
So I want to
feed.
make sure that I'm using the right delivery system for the thread. So I'm just going to bring up my needle here. And as I get to my pins, I just take them out.
Okay.
I don't stitch over the pins. It's just holding it down there. And I'm going to put this in the needle down position. Now I have my needle set very slow so that I can move my machine and my needle's not racing, and I can put the stitch exactly where I want that stitch to be. So I'm going to start it, and I'm just going to go back and forth and take that bite and just follow my piece. The nice thing about the micro handles and doing this on the long arm is when you are stitching on your sewing machine, when I get to a curve like I'm coming into right now, I have to stop, raise my presser foot, pivot my fabric, put my presser foot down, and repeat that process for every curve that I'm going around. With the long arm, I never have to do that. I can just keep going around the whole object.
And I love seeing the speed that you're taking, because I have this perception that, it's just pedal to the metal.
Oh, no.
When people are long arming, it's just so fast, but it's nice to see
that you can go slow and be more accurate with that stitch. Okay, so that's the
lovely
blanket stitch.
Stitching right there.
Thank you. And I don't mark anything. I kind of can eyeball how close or how far apart that I want those stitches to be. And it's just, like I said, it's just a fun little project. It's not going into a show. It's just a whimsical project. Okay, so now, I'm going to stand up for this one because I'm going to have the needle at a higher speed. And I'm just a little bit more comfortable with standing up here. Now, I'm going to change my speed on my cruise. And now my needle's going to go a lot faster because I'm going to be going in a circular motion.
Cruise as in cruise control?
Yeah, just about,
awesome.
just about. So I'm going to take this pin out here so I don't have any opportunity to hit that. And now, I still want my hands down here for more control so I can stay along the edge of this. I'm just going to do a little squiggle stitch.
And just going right through the tulle. Right over your raw edges, so you're quilting and appliquing all at the same time,
And see, if I was doing this on my sewing machine, how many times would I have to stop and put that presser foot down? But here I can go all the way around that shape. And I can change my threads, and I can do all different colors. See, I'm down with another pin, so I can just take that out, and I don't have to worry about this moving at all.
And about how long does it take you to make one of these from start to finish?
Oh, less than an hour.
That's awesome. Let's talk about instant gratification.
It is. It is. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
You could churn one of these out, a couple of them in an evening if you wanted to.
Yes. And then I just cut it away, trim it up, and it's good to go.
Let's take a look at that flower, if we can. That is really fun. A great opportunity to use your scraps, like you said, little bits of thread, little bits of yarn, embellishments, fabric that you couldn't use in a regular quilt. Just have fun with it.
Yes.
And just
go to town.
Absolutely.
A good way to practice stitching. If you want to do feathers, background fills, it's a great place to practice.
Thank you so much for bringing this
and
showing us how to do this, and it makes me want to get one of these now, but I don't think I have room for one in my house. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handi Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And QuiltCut, easy fabric cutting for quilters.